Welcome to Tammy Tuesday. We're very happy you're here. I'm super excited to share my guest with you today. One of my very favorite people on this planet. I think I might be a little biased because it is my oldest precious son, Tyler Fellows. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I am thrilled to be on the Tammy Tuesday podcast. I've been tuning in every Tuesday. I love you with all my heart. So I've been really looking forward to getting on here, and I feel like today is the perfect day to come on here because it is my 20th birthday, and I flew into town, and this was the main reason I flew into town. So I was really looking forward to being on this podcast. So thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, Tyler, I'm so super excited. So yes, this was a surprise. My husband actually surprised me with Tyler coming to town. I have wanted to interview all of my kids on this podcast, which I will. But I am super excited because today is a big day. He's turning 20 today, March 23rd. 20 years ago today, you and I had a pretty special day. You made me a mom.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. I was the first one.
I know.
Out of all the four, so.
I know. So Tyler lives in Bozeman, Montana, which is where my husband is from originally, and goes to MSU, Montana State University. So in town for this very special day and this special occasion, and I'm really, really happy that you're here.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to be here. I was honestly really excited to do this. I know I'd been wanting to come on here for a while, and just a shout out to all the guests who have already come on here. I love all of you. You guys tell amazing stories. I'm going to try my best. Obviously, I don't have as much life experience, but no, everybody that my mom has had on the show so far, just wonderful people. I got to shadow one group, Michael and Nicole Anders. Shout out to you guys. And so, yeah, I've just been looking forward to this for a while.
Yeah, very cool. Well, it is cool too, Ty, because this is a really special thing because it's a timestamp of your life. And you say you don't have a lot of life experience, but you have more than you realize.
I got a decent bit. Yeah. Obviously not as much as I think compared to, the vast majority of people, but I do have some stories, to tell. And so I'm looking forward to that, but
yeah, me too. So, okay. Speaking about the fact that as you've expressed to me, you are probably my most loyal listener. You've heard every podcast.
Yes.
And that makes me feel so loved and appreciated, specifically that my own child, he actually likes me, you guys. Or maybe it's not me. Maybe it's my guess.
No, it's you.
But I want you to know how good that makes me feel. It makes me feel very appreciated. It makes me feel like you actually care about what I have to share here, which means a lot because you're my baby.
I know. And I don't mean to intrude, but no, it's funny because, I'm being the oldest son. I've been around my mother the longest out of everybody, just timeline wise. And so I've seen her grow. I've seen her go through lots of changes in her life. And it's funny because we don't really see the subtle changes in people we live with. And I've heard that a couple of times from a couple of people who've been on here. And it's true. For me, it's really weird because I left for college, never really got to see this side of you. And so watching these videos and, tuning in every Tuesday, I just see this change and it's amazing. So every time I'm in town, I'm super intrigued. I'm always interested in what you're doing. And that's probably why I'm such a big fan. And I just love following your journey. And because the mom I knew, especially in high school, this is the best example. You had those two magazines and it was a big deal. And I remember it came with a lot of perks. Obviously we got a little spoiled, but it also came with a lot of hard work. So we wouldn't see you as much. And I was busy in high school playing tennis full time. And so I was just always gone. You were always gone. I didn't see you that much. And so it was just like this feeling of I didn't really know what was going on. Like you would tell me about these stories. You'd be going to black tie events. And obviously all these people that you're interviewing now, you met because of those experiences, which I think is amazing. But at the same time, I didn't really get to see that part of you. So when I left for college, you started this podcast and I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Like, and I get to see a whole nother side to you that I didn't even know existed. So, cause I wasn't there. So.
Well, it's funny. I remember last time, and I mentioned this on another podcast, that over winter break, we get you for a month, which is so nice because, oh my gosh, Tyler, you are such a force in this family. And our little crew of 6, you are, it's going to make me cry. Your family loves you so, so much. And when you're around, we are so happy that you're there because you're like the glue and you're just an incredible human. And I'm so proud of who you are. And it has nothing to do with me or your dad. It's truly who you are. And when you're gone, you're missed. Yeah. You really are missed by all of us. And so I just am grateful that you feel that way. And I love that you have such a deep connection with your brothers and with your dad and I. And I'm amazed at who you become. But when you were home, this last winter break for a month, I remember you pulled me aside at one point. And this is after, obviously I started this and I mean, it's only been a few months.
I know, it's crazy.
At this point. Yeah. So it hasn't even been that long since I actually started this. But I remember that you said to me, you said, Mom, you're different. You're different. You're lighter. You're happier. You just seem like you're in your lane. And it was such a huge compliment coming from my child because you guys see me at my worst. You see me at my best. You see me in all light and all dark. And when you said that, it was like, wow, that really tells me that I think I'm doing the right thing for myself. And that was really hugely encouraging for you to tell me that. So I want you to know how much that meant to me to hear you say that from you specifically. So when you tell me why you thought that, what is it that has been different? Because I mean, the only thing I can go off of is what you said to me, because that's a lot of what we talk about here. And the reason I want to go into this is because this is the kind of stuff I want to talk about for you too. And as your parent, all I want for you is to be happy. And I feel like I'm in a space now where I am truly, genuinely happy. And I think that's what you're seeing in me. And that's the beautiful shift and change that I've gone through. So what is it that felt different? I'm just curious.
I mean, everything. You know, I don't see you that much anymore. I feel like I know you pretty well, but even saying that, I feel like I don't. I mean, now I do, obviously. I try and learn everything, but just, you know, past experiences and stuff that you've done, you know, you just give me a mixed bag. You're always telling people you love your family, and obviously that is true. 100% of the time, you'd rather be with your kids than anybody else on the planet. And we know that, and we know this, but sometimes we don't get to see you that much, especially now. I've been gone at college for a long time. So, you know, finishing up my sophomore year, I'm going to go into my junior year after the summer, but I just don't see you guys anymore. So like you said, I'm here for a month for winter break. The reason I said that was because at that point you had been doing the podcast for a while. I saw an episode filmed, and it's just seeing you in your element is so different from watching it on a screen or even hearing about it. It's great. You look really happy. I know for a fact when you're happy, the family's happy. So I know for a fact when you're happy, I'm happy. So there's that. But you know, you're just, like you said, you are at your happiest right now. And because of that, I'm also very happy for you. And I just see a whole nother side of you that I feel like I've never seen. So I'm just happy to see you in your element and, you know, spreading positivity and love. And this podcast is a phenomenal outlet, and you just get to be yourself on here, and you've had real stories and connections. It's funny too, because like you always say, you've had these conversations before. You just wanted to document them. And so this is the perfect plan to do that. So I mean, so far you've killed it. I'm not to brag, biggest fan. I've seen all of her episodes. I'm on all of her socials. Just trying to support my mother because she's, you know, she really enjoys this platform. So, well, whatever I can do to push you to keep doing it. I know you're going to keep doing it regardless, but I'm going to be there supporting you. I know you support me on anything I do. And so I just want to, you know, I want to be that supportive son for you. So. You are, honey. You are 100%. And like I said, I really thank you for that. It means way more than you have any idea. So just know that. Let that in, let that sink in, because it's the truth. If your parents can learn from their kids, which I have learned so much, and I've said this to you boys, you are my forever teachers, and I will always be wanting to learn from you. So many things you know more than me, even though I have more life experience, there are things that you know that I do not. And I want to learn. I'm a sponge. That's why we're here, is to absorb and experience and learn from each other. And being blessed with
becoming a mom and getting the joy of having 4 amazing sons to teach me, grow, and to learn how to experience life in a different way. Oh my gosh, what a gift that's been.
I know. Yeah, right back at you. You've made it so easy to live in this world for us. You've spoiled us. You pampered us. You taught us lessons. Dad always says it really well. He wants to raise men, and there's 4 of us. So, it's a lot, but at the end of the day, you guys have freaking killed it. You guys, phenomenal parents, and I cannot say that enough. So
that means a lot, Tyler. Thank you for that. Yeah. And we make mistakes just like everybody, and we will continue to make them, but that's okay. We're all on a path. We're all learning. So tell me, for you, because you're having a new experience, you're in college, you're almost halfway through your college experience.
Almost halfway through, yes.
How has it been? Because I will say this, and we've talked about this before here, and this is why I'm really excited for you to share this with the world. You are growing up in a really interesting time.
Yes.
And there's always different interesting times that go on throughout everybody's life. There's different generations of things and events and experiences that we've all gone through. I feel specifically that your generation is challenged with in many ways. And I'm also blessed in many ways, but I'm curious what your take is on it based on the time that you're growing up, the age that you're at, the relationships that you have, the way communication is. There's so much I want to dive into because it's great to hear a perspective straight from your mouth.
Straight from the source.
Yeah. So talk about that a little bit, because your college experience there's no comparison to how mine was. They're so night and day different. So tell me about what it's been like. You graduated. Okay, so back up real quick, because when COVID hit, you were a junior. No, it was sophomore.
I was a sophomore when COVID hit, yes.
When COVID hit. So that was interesting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's like, I could talk hours of. It's funny, I always ask people what their COVID story is, because everybody has a COVID story. It doesn't matter where you were on the planet, what you were doing, there was always something going on in your life. Maybe it was good, maybe it was bad. You'll hear a lot of chances, or you will hear a lot of stories about people who got certain opportunities because of it. You'll hear about certain people having problems, and you'll just hear all these crazy stories, good, bad, maybe neither. And it's just crazy. So from the start, if you want to hear, would you rather hear me talk about what it's like living in a society at this time, or do you want me to give you my COVID story?
Well, give me just a snippet because I think that the COVID story also has to do with how you're living in society now.
Yeah, I think
so. Let's start there a little bit and go into how that unfolded for you.
So when COVID hit, we were on vacation. Ironically, we probably have the same COVID story because we were together. We were living together. Yeah, I would have been a sophomore in high school. Obviously, being the oldest, my brothers were. I was a sophomore. Jake, the now 18-year-old, he was a 8th grader. Logan, the now 9th grader, he would have been in. I think he would have been in 6th grade at the time, and then Brody would have been 2nd or 3rd. I'm just throwing that out there, but very young kids. None of us could drive yet. COVID hit at a weird time, but we were in California at the time. And
on spring break, actually, what's the date today?
Yeah, ironically,
it's really close to what
COVID
it was.
would have hit, so it hit 2020, so it would have hit 4 years and maybe 10 days, because it hit it was the 14th or 12th is when they announced it.
It was the 12th.
Yes, so it would have been that in 11 days. So 4 years, 11 days to this day is when COVID hit, and we were in Cali, spring break. It was the end of our spring break. We had been there for a couple of days. We were staying because of the magazines you got put up, or you got us put up in a nice house. It was over by, where was that
Cardiff by
house?
the Sea.
Yes.
By Encinitas. Yes. Oh, it was great. Yeah,
that house was so cool. It was really cool. And we spent a couple days there, saw some family. I remember we did Legoland. It was kind of underwhelming, but we were just there as a family having a good time. Spring break, we were all kids. We were having a fun time. But I remember we were going to go back the next day. It would have been Saturday, or when was the 12th? Saturday, Sunday. We got the call. We're all in school still, obviously. I'm in high school. The boys are in middle school and elementary. We get the call from my high school that school is going to be canceled for 2 weeks. We're like, oh, we have an extended break. And we were all really excited about it. I remember I called my buddies, shout out to Tyler and Trevor if you guys see this, called you guys. And I was like, guys, we don't have school. And we're all celebrating, yay. And we're sophomores. We have nothing going on. It's just basic school. And same with my brothers. They were super excited. So we ended up I remember we stayed an extra day. because of this, and we had a blast. There was a park nearby the house, but we ended up going back the day after. And oh my gosh, nothing was ever the same. It was funny. We had, I'm pretty sure Shelly and the kids stopped by,
they did.
like right when this happened. And they were talking to us about it, and they were shocked, and everybody was just like, what's going on? We didn't know anything at the time. So we were all just like, well, I guess we'll take it as it comes. And it came. So when we got home, everything was in full lockdown. It took a couple of weeks to like really realize
that this was really happening.
Yeah, it was crazy. And as a kid, you know, being a sophomore in high school, I think I was like 15, 16. I never really understood how, like, what was going on, how big of a deal it was. Now I do, obviously, being in this society nowadays, it's changed everything. I mean, you used to be able to, you know, cough and sneeze wherever, and now when you do it, people think you're dead. So, but yeah, it's crazy. So the school element changed. I remember we went online for the rest of my sophomore year. Then going into junior year.
How was that? Because I think you handled it tremendously.
Yeah. So it's funny. Everybody tells you different stories. I remember all my friends hated it because they knew
a lot of kids really suffered.
Of kids, majority of kids, and you know, I'm not dissing them at all, but majority of kids really struggled with going online. I fortunately was not one of those people. I'm very good at getting my work done. I think that's why I'm in college now. But most of the kids who went online, they really struggled. It affected millions of, just a lot of kids. It affected everybody. And there was like the 1% to 2% of people that actually really loved it. I was in that group. Unfortunately, my brothers, on the other hand, were not in that group. And they struggled. Obviously, they got through it. Everybody gets through it eventually, but online for the rest of that year, the rest of spring into summer of 2020. Then that would be leading into my junior year. It was online for the first semester, so it would have been like 3-4 months. I was online. Then it went into in person, but we were wearing masks, and it was very keep your hands clean, keep your distance. The mask thing, it was crazy. That was the rest of my junior year. I remember I didn't get to play tennis my junior year because they just canceled all sports, like all contact sports. They just got rid of because they just didn't want to risk spreading.
Tennis, you guys, tennis.
Yeah, I know.
How much further apart can you be?
I don't get it. Like tennis is not a contact sport.
That was puzzling to me
at all. And so it got canceled. So our season got canceled my junior year, which was a bummer, and for me and my boys, because our whole tennis team was really close. And then senior year came around, the mask mandate was lifted. Arizona was very fortunate. We did not have to deal with masks that long. It was like maybe a full year at least of masks, maybe a little less. And then by the time it was 2021 going into 2022, the masks were lifted. In-person school did not have masks. There was still the 6 feet rule, obviously keep your hands clean. And then that spring, 2022, we did get to play tennis. We actually ended up making it second place at state. It was a phenomenal year. Thank God we didn't have to wear masks because they were thinking about making tennis players wear masks on the court, which is so dumb, but ended up finishing that, had a normal graduation.
You're so lucky for that.
I know. So
you got to graduate, you got to have a ceremony and got to walk. So many kids did not get that experience.
Yeah, so the year before me would have been the graduates. So I graduated spring of 2022. The previous graduating class, 2021, they did not get a graduation. I don't remember what they did. I think it was indoors. It was limited to a certain amount of people.
Or was it streaming or something?
I think it was streamed. I'm not sure, but it was not how it was. It wasn't as big as mine. I was really fortunate. I got to have mine at the spring training fields over Talking Stick Resort. It was an amazing graduation ceremony. No masks, just a normal graduation on the field. My class was I think the class size was 550, so we were all there. Tons of families in the stand. You weren't limited to a certain amount of guests. You can request as many tickets as you want. So I was very fortunate. So I timing wise, I was very lucky compared to other kids. I've heard stories of some of my friends, older upperclassmen at MSU. They've told me stories. They were juniors or they were graduating and they just didn't get to have a graduation. And it was just really sad. Some of them didn't get a prom. Some of them didn't get all these things, sporting events, and didn't go to state. And it was a bummer. It was a bummer in high school. Fortunate.
It was a real thing.
Yeah. I did not have to deal with that.
I know. You're very lucky for that. So moving through that, because that was everybody, like you said, everybody has their own experiences. Some good, some not so good, some horrible, whatever. Now, today where you are in college, what is college life like today in our society, at least your experience of it? How is it going? How do you feel about it? What do you love? What do you not love? Talk about it a little bit.
I mean, I could talk hours about it, but I mean, the key points I want to talk about with college, I mean, I think you've heard all of it, but just for everybody else, right now, our society's in a weird spot. COVID's basically done for. We have the vaccines. Everything's fine. That's not the problem anymore. It's just reconnecting to society because we are so distant from each other. And it's a shame because we didn't always used to be that way. And, and it makes it hard for people to form relationships and, have friends and just be social in general. And it's really hard. Obviously at college, you're around.
Why do you think that is?
Just because that's how the world has grown thus far. I think COVID did not help it at all. I feel like it was already on the way to be like this. Everybody's just more distant. We're more down here instead of up here.
On our phones.
Yeah, on our phones. We're always looking down, never up. And that can be a metaphor for life. I mean, people just get really downed.
Explain that a little bit. What do you mean by a metaphor for life?
Well, just, because in life you got to stay positive, keep your head up, but we're always looking down. So we can't really look up if we're looking at our phones all the time. So,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, just a little metaphor for life. But college in general, I mean, I'm very lucky. I didn't pick a hard degree to go for. I'm a business management major with a minor in psychology. So far, it's not very hard. I'm going to get into my upper graduate classes next year. Obviously, I'm almost halfway done. So it's going to get harder here in a second. I'm not saying that it's already hard now, but, I've been very good about getting my work done. And it depends on the person, right? I mean, college isn't for everyone. I know for a fact my younger brother, Jake, he will not be going to college, but he's going to do something crazy. He'll figure it out. But everybody does eventually. I don't even know what I'm going to do right now. I'm in college. I mean, so... I'm just busy all the time. People work. We're never in like a socializing mood. I feel like it gets social once you graduate or even in between, but those friends really don't, stay along for the ride. I mean, I know from experience that some of my friends who I play volleyball for my university. I play club volleyball for MSU. I've met a ton of people that way. Usually when you go to college, you want to network with people. The best way to network with people on your campus is join a club, join a fraternity, sorority, sports team, like anything. You can do a number of things. You will meet people, right? So that's the best way to connect with people in college.
That's great advice.
And ironically, all my roommates now are people I met through volleyball. My freshman year of college, I remember I was like, we're going to do club volleyball. I want to get into it because I had always been playing casually for a while. And now I play in a club with a team. I'm going to a tournament in 2 weeks in Centralia, Washington with 16 other guys, and it's like a big, it's a regional volleyball tournament, and then that's going to lead into nationals, and that's another story. But all these guys I made a deep connection with, and my roommates currently, there's 4 of them. I live with 4 other guys in this 3-bed, 2.5 bath in Bozeman, Montana. And it sounds crazy, and it is, but we do get along. We make it work. But yeah, just right now where college is, it's just hard to connect with people. But the best way to do that is obviously, like I said, join a fraternity, do something social. But even then you can't do that because you're a full-time student. I know myself, I'm taking 16 credits this semester. I'm working 20 hours a week. Then there's volleyball. Then there's everything else that comes along with that. And it's a lot and it stacks up. So when I'm able to come home, it is just, it's a breather. It's a breath of fresh air. And that's why I like coming home so much, to be honest. And I know this sounds funny, but you always want to leave, especially people who are motivated and ambitious, like my parents, obviously. But I considered myself pretty motivated. I wanted to get out of the house. I wanted to start making moves, as Dad always says. And I took that as, I'm sick of my family. I want to get out of here. I want to go to a different state. I want to go to somewhere I can get some distance, right? You think that, and then you get there and you realize how much you miss them. And so whenever I'm home, it's a blessing. I spend all my time with my family and friends whenever I can. So
talk about the pressure a little bit, because the way I see it from an older generation looking at a younger generation, I see, and I've talked about this a lot here and for myself specifically about the pressure of performing and excelling and working and putting so much pressure on ourselves. How do you see that for yourself, Tyler? Because honestly, I've said this to you boys, and at the end of the day, you need to remember to find your joy and your peace. Like I understand that you're in a grind, as you like to say, because you are.
I'm on that grind.
You are in a grind. But even still at this age, you still have to put time back into yourself, which you do in many ways. I know you like to you're a gamer. You like to game. You play tennis. You play volleyball. You have lots of friends in your social, but your work ethic is so strong, which is a beautiful gift that you have, because not everybody has that drive. So you're lucky to have it, but you also have to have balance. So I feel like the pressure on young adults these days is really high. We talked about this on Carrie's podcast when she was on here, on the pressure on young adults. How do you feel like that is for you? Do you see it among your friends? Do you feel it for yourself? What does that look like for you? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Shout out to Carrie. She had a wonderful podcast. What she said about the young men in today's society, I would classify it. Well, now I'm not even a teenager. I'm a young adult. It's a lot. The work-life balance, it's needed. Everybody needs it. For me, like you said, I game. I play tennis. I'm very physical. I'm going to go play tennis with my dad right after this, ironically. But you just got to stay out there. It doesn't even have to be sports. It can be anything. You just need to realize that you don't need to be working all the time, because at the end of the day, if we don't include that work-life balance, we're just workaholics, and it works us to the bone, and we feel miserable and we get depressed, and it's not very healthy. So yeah, I feel like for people who need more of a work-life balance, I honestly think I still need more. I work a lot. Like, I'm busy. I have no free time. It's funny. I just got back from New York and then I went right back to school. I was working 9 to 5 and doing school. And then I did that. And then I came back here, and I feel like I'm actually having a break since I did New York City. And that was very fun, but still taxing at the end of the day. But, here's the thing I was going to add to that. I feel like for so many young people, they are held back by asking for help. Yes. That's the pressure I'm talking about. Yeah. People need to realize, young people in your generation, I think, are afraid that if they show any, as they might see it, weakness, or that they need help, or that they're vulnerable, that they really suffer. And that's what creates this behavior. So how do you see that for yourself? Because I even tell you, I'm like, Tyler, if you need help, you need to say something. Say something, yeah. And I feel like that's something that a lot of young people today just don't even know that they can do that. And it's just such an important piece to having that work-life balance. When you're struggling, when you're overworked, when you're exhausted, it's okay to say, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Not, I got this. It's, no, I'm tired and I need a break. Like the fact that you come home and that's when you feel like you get a break. The reason I bring this up is because I feel like this is really, really prominent in so many young adults' lives. Yeah. They feel so much pressure and they cannot say, I need a break. I need a break. The pressure is too much for me. And then they buckle, and then horrible things can happen. And then and then they just keep going down the pole. Yeah. Yeah. So I just think it's important for young people to recognize in themselves when they're feeling that kind of pressure, and when they do need to relieve some of that pressure, and to communicate that with the people that they're close to. Yeah. We're lucky because you're close with us, and it's a safe place for you to communicate those things to. And you do. When you need to, you do. Yeah. And I encourage anybody out there that when you're feeling that way, if it's not your family, if it's your friends, whoever it is, communicate that, get some help. It's okay to be vulnerable. Yeah. Don't you agree? I do agree. Yeah. And, playing off of what you said, I think the reason people don't reach out is because I think it's a mix of a lot of things, right? It could be COVID, it could be stress, it could be work related, it could be personal, it could be anything, right? But majority of the reasons people don't reach out in today's world, usually it's young adults who, are working themselves to the bone. And like you said, you need to reach out. You need to find that person. It doesn't even have to be family. It could be anybody. You just need to reach out and ask for help. And 99.9999% of the time, somebody will help you. But the reason we struggle with that so much is because we set unreal expectations we think we can achieve. And maybe that's because of social media. Maybe that's because of where we grew up. It could be a number of things, but I think social media is the biggest one. Talk about that a little bit, because that's a big piece of it. I think that's a huge piece of it, in fact. How does that play into it for you? Or people that you know? About working social media. Well, just the unreal. You said unrealistic. to me, that screams social media, because I see so many unrealistic things on social media that are not achievable.
It's true. It is very true. I mean, I feel like it's different for me and you. We look at social media and we just see our everyday, right? We just see what we grew up with, because we grew up in this age. Like, people around my age in their early 20s, even late 30s, grew up with, you know, Facebook, Instagram, all these social media platforms, and we're just used to it, right? So we don't see anything bad. The people who didn't grow up with it, people, you know,
like me,
you and older, you know, they see social media and they only see the negative. And it's true. There's a lot of negatives about social media. I'm not defending it, but, you know, most of the time social media, you know, causes negative influences and stuff. And if that is the truth, I feel like I have really good friends. I'll give you some examples. One of my roommates, shout out to you, Colt. You do a phenomenal job on social media, especially Instagram. I know for a fact that when you get too addicted to reels or just videos or anything of any sort of caliber, you just uninstall the app. You're just like, I need a break, and you just uninstall it. It's a wonderful technique, and I do not have that technique, unfortunately. Fortunately, I don't have an addiction problem. I can get off social media. I could delete it right now if I wanted to. I do like it, on the other hand, for the positives. There's, you know, seeing your friends, seeing updates, what's your family up to, you know, keeping in their lives. And for family you don't live by, yeah, it's a great platform. But then again, it has some negatives, and that can outweigh the positives. And that's all you'll hear about nowadays. And so, yeah, the pressure that we set for ourselves, coming back to this idea, but the pressure we set for ourselves is just unrealistic, and we always want to do the best we can. And sometimes we think we say to ourselves, maybe we don't need any help. Maybe we can do this on our own. A lot of the time, that's not true at all. And we just are being really unrealistic. We need help. I mean, I could even use myself as an example. I work so much. I'm always on that grind, and I never ask you guys for help. Sometimes I won't. I just told this to you today. Sometimes, you know, as a college student, I mean, everybody's done this a couple of times. I do it a lot. I save money on food. I will just go the whole day without eating, and I'll eat a big dinner. And, you know, not the healthiest thing to do, but just, you know, one of those things where it's like, oh, I got to save money here. I got to save money there. And, you know, this world is getting more expensive by the day, and it's hard not to keep doing that. And so that's what I've been doing recently to combat, you know, growing costs and stuff and pressure and all that stuff. And obviously, you know, not eating is the worst idea you can do. Do not do that. You should eat. If you're hungry, you should be eating. It's very unhealthy. It sets bad habits. It keeps things from, I don't know, developing, and it just keeps you from being like the person that you really are. You're more tired. You're more depressed because you're not eating, and it's bad. I'm doing it because I'm in that stage of my life right now. I'm trying to save money. And so,
do you think that part of it is that, like you were saying, you mentioned the word, you know, you're too proud to ask for help. Mm-hmm. So in your case, do you feel that maybe it's because you don't want to feel like you need to lean on your parents?
I mean, I could go both ways on that. I feel like I can definitely lean on you guys for everything. Obviously, I tell you everything. Like you know me 100% of the time. Like, you know what I'm thinking. You know what I'm doing. I tell you everything. And I'm not trying to hide anything. If I ever need to tell you something, I'm always talking to you. But then at the same time, you know, living on my own, we just renewed our lease for another year. This full year that we did, there's 5 guys. This full year that we did was wonderful. We all were able to pay rent. None of us were late. It was a great year financially, ironically. And, you know, living on my own, I just feel like I have to be paying for more stuff. So I'm not trying to reach into the purse, if catch my meaning. Yeah. I'm trying to be more self-sufficient.
No. And Tyler, that is an amazing gift, because there are so many people your age that don't have any clue about what that even means. Mm-hmm. So I'm very proud of you that you see that way for yourself. I really, truly, that's something to be very proud of. On the same token, not so much that you don't want to eat. Right. I know it's a bad habit. Don't do this. And we love you. And I've said to you a million times, I'm like, Tyler, if you want some grocery money, please.
And can I be honest with you? I don't know if Dad told you. He sent me some money for food a couple weeks ago. Like, I do ask you guys for money, but
I'm not saying you don't.
It's just smaller installments. And obviously, if I need the help, I'm going to ask. But so I'm playing on both sides of that. But then again, most people don't do that. They're like, oh, I can stick it out. I can do this. I don't need any help financially or maybe mentally or whatever. It's like, I don't need that help. people online, I mean, and there's great sources online for if you're depressed or if you're sad or if you need help with something, there's great resources online. And that's what I think people are missing the big picture on. Obviously there's the negative, and then I feel like for every negative, there's a positive. And it's harder to find the positive than the negative because the majority of people view it as, a negative thing because addiction is a thing and it's real. But for people in my age of society, they won't defend social media, but they'll be like, yes, it's bad, but
it's like you said, Tyler, it's part of your existence. You don't know a world without it.
I don't know a world without social media. Exactly.
I get it. And I agree with you. I think there's plenty of really beautiful things about social media. I talked about it. I think it was with Nicole and Michael. We talked about how I find it sad that people hold themselves back of sharing positivity because they're afraid people will judge it because everybody's comparing and judging anything they see there.
I know.
So it's a challenge. But on that same note, and I love that you also said that older generations tend to find the more negatives than the positive, which I think is very true, Tyler. I really think that's true. And I think it's, again, because we didn't grow up with it. Yeah. And it's a new intrusion on our lives and we see it as in many ways a hindrance.
Why waste the time?
Right. Or whatever, however we see it. And I agree with you. You guys don't know a life without it. So I get that. But there is one thing I want to touch on, and I think this has something to do with connection, human connection and relationships. And I've talked about this in other conversations here as well. I feel that there's less connection with dating I want to talk about that from your perspective, because the way I see it, it's going to be different than how you see it. And I want to know how you and your friends see this, because to me, from my perspective, it seems like there's like a huge void happening there. Yeah. And it is truly, I think, a lot because of the social media facade.
Yeah.
Talk about how you feel about that. Do you see that in relationships for you? We've talked about dating and girls and how it's challenging to meet girls and how to get in the dating scene. Yeah. Talk about that a little bit, because I think this is a huge talking point.
Yeah, no, this is a very popular topic to talk about, and it needs to be addressed. It's serious, and it's causing people not to get in relationships at all, and it is tough. People don't realize how difficult it is. Like I said before, people are always looking down instead of up. With that disconnect right there, you're missing 90% of the people that you could be friends with. It's unbelievable, the stats on it, but it's just creating a further disconnect. Like you said, the void. People aren't getting in as many relationships. I know myself, I've been in one long distance relationship, didn't last that long. That's like the only relationship I've been in. I'm still single. It is a little frustrating, but then again, I'm trying to work on myself right now. I mean, that's what everybody says, but I really am. I'm working myself to the bone. I'm trying to get done with college, to be honest with you. Once I'm done out of college, I'm open to anything. But, right now, I feel like people are dating to marry more often than they're just dating to dating. Like when you were a kid, you said you had a boyfriend at 16. I mean, I can't imagine having a boyfriend or girlfriend that young anymore. It's just not something you see every day. I mean, obviously there's still many cases where people are in relationships, but it's really rare. The best way to say it is people are dating to marry instead of just dating for experience. People don't date to experience stuff anymore. They're like, oh, I have to find the perfect partner. She has to be this, that. She has to be similar to like some of my beliefs. And it's just really specific, and it's putting a strain on people. And it's like, it's setting unreal expectations. And so I feel like social media plays into that a little bit too, because we see all these beautiful women, beautiful men, whatever side of the spectrum you're on. And we assume that that's what we should be looking for. And when in reality, that's the 1%. Right. So people aren't getting in relationships anymore. I mean, I know myself, I'm not particularly looking for, this gorgeous girl. I'm just looking to make a friend. If it turns into a relationship, sure. But I mean, that's not the end goal. I feel like the end goal people are going for now is marriage, stability, and maybe that's the pressure of it. Maybe that's more pressure on the dating scene. That's why people aren't getting in relationships. I also think that people are really scared of getting rejected, because in this society, we all want to be accepted, especially at this point. Obviously, it's different for, the other generations older than us, but for Gen Z specifically, and I think it's Gen Alpha or whatever after us, we want to be accepted by society, so we will do whatever it takes. If that is, posting certain pictures on social media, setting a certain image for yourself, or, acting a certain way around friends, or trying to get, into a group of people that you think would be cool, maybe that aren't the best influence. It could be a number of things, but people just want to be accepted. And so with that set mindset, they also want to be accepted by their partners. So that's why I can speak from personal experience. I'm not really like going and talking to every girl I see on the side of the street, even if she's drop dead gorgeous, right? Because I'm scared of not being accepted.
Yeah.
So
it's huge, Tyler.
Yeah, it's really,
that's a real thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. In your peer group, do you talk about that, or is this
all the time?
Okay.
All the time.
So you do
this
talk
is a
about
normal
this.
thing. This isn't odd.
Okay. So this is what we talked about. I don't remember which podcast I talked about this, but that's how I was seeing it is what's being shown on social media is, like you said, unrealistic because it's maybe the 1% of what you're seeing out there. And so you're seeing something that may be real, but it's so untouchable, or that it's not even real. So much so that when you see something in real life that you're attracted to, you're quite frankly afraid of rejection.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
That is 100% accurate.
So that's why young people are not even approaching, whether you're a boy or a girl, are not approaching.
Oh, this goes for both sides. Yeah, this goes for both sides.
Because they feel like they're going to be rejected. You also touched on something else. I haven't heard this perspective before, which is people aren't dating to date anymore. They're dating to marry.
Yeah, it's really funny. You bring up that point. I'm into podcasts a lot more because you started this one. I look at tons of podcasts, whether it's Joe Rogan or some of the other thousands of amazing podcasts that are out there.
Right. But
it's just the truth. You look at stats of relationships over like the past like 10, 20 years, and it's just people are having less kids. It's really funny because here's another really funny stat is when you look at overpopulation. I saw a Neil deGrasse Tyson clip, and it's so funny because like everybody thinks he's brilliant, right? And he is really brilliant, but some of his points aren't on point. Anyway, he said something that caught my eye. He said overpopulation isn't the problem; it's underpopulation. Because at the end of the day, our stats are only going to keep dropping. The further and further we move into these new technologies that don't require these face-to-face conversations, the further we disconnect from each other as humans, and the less bonds we create, the less humans are created overall over the planet. And I'm not even just talking for the USA, just everywhere. Like people just aren't having as many kids, they're not getting in relationships, they're staying single for way too long. And it's just creating this disconnect that doesn't need to be there. And it's crazy to think about because it's only going to get worse in my opinion. So,
well, the thing that I find interesting about it is, it's funny the divorce rate was so high when I was young. We talk to you guys about it all the time. We say, how many of your friends' parents are divorced? And the majority of them are, or a higher majority. But that seems to be lessening over time from what I can see.
Yes.
And it feels to me, it's not your generation because you guys are on the younger side of this, but I feel like there is it feels to me, and I could be wrong statistically, I don't know statistically, but it feels like as time moves forward, there is maybe a little bit of less divorce with the step down generation because they learned and saw so much of it in their lives that they look, like you said, they're dating to marry. But there's two sides to that coin, because when you date to marry, your expectations are so high, and the older you get as a person, the more set in your ways you are, the harder it is to find a mate. Because I'm telling you, you're never going to find a perfect mate. There is no such thing as a perfect mate. You're going to have challenges as humans, no matter what. So you're going to find mates that you are compatible with, that have the same interests, that you're attracted to. All of those factors are important, and you have the same life goals. You want families or you don't. Whatever those things are, they're super important. That's what you find out and discover about yourself and other people as you date.
Exactly.
So if you're waiting to find the perfect one and you don't even date to find that, you'll never get there. So it's those interactions, like you said, and looking down instead of looking up. All the potential relationships. I mean, friendships, not even like.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about in general.
Not even a romantic relationship. Just the potential of people and interacting face to face with those people. You're missing so much interaction. It just blows my mind.
I know it's sad. And like I said, it's going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Me particularly, I am not, thank God I'm not one of those people. I am open to anything. If a girl approaches me and she's like, you're really cute, you want my number? I'm going to say yes. I don't care if she's a 10 out of 10. I don't care if she's a 1, 2, 3 out of 10. It doesn't matter to me. Like that right there, that's a friendship at least, right? We made the connection. If it turns into something else, that's good, right? But I'm not looking for that right now. And so I think what majority of people miss is just having a conversation, because that's where everything starts, right? You can't get in a relationship until you start the conversation. Yeah,
face
I know.
To face, right?
It's the face of
interaction.
Seriously.
Like human to human, in-person interaction. There's no comparison, that versus what you're doing behind a screen. There's just no comparison. And
it's really funny too, because I'm just going to throw out a joke. So my dating life recently has been very sad. I'm just going to be brutally honest. I've asked a couple girls for numbers. I've gotten all of them. The problem is, turns out they all have boyfriends. So, and you know, as being accepted in this point in time, you know, like that's just taboo. Like you don't, especially for this generation, I feel like, you know, it's more prominent in our generation than any other generation. If you cheat, it's just taboo. Like, why would you do that? Super disrespectful. You're not accepted in society. You're a bad person. Sure, you might get in another relationship really fast, but it's just not good. So we look at that as just the no man's land. We do not go there. Like, so,
but okay, to be the devil's advocate on this a little bit, looking at the other side of it, you just said that even if they're ugly or unattractive or whatever, it could be a friendship. So are you worried that they're going to cross a line?
Oh no, never. Always.
So then why are you afraid even if they say they give you their number and they say I have a boyfriend, why are you afraid to communicate with them after that?
Oh, I'm never afraid to communicate, but you missed the point. When you go up to a girl, especially nowadays, it's like, it's either Snapchat. Can I get your Snapchat, Instagram? I feel like those are more casual ways of getting a girl's information.
Right.
I mean, email address is just cringy. We don't do that anymore. Too old.
I don't think anybody does that.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it in movies, older movies. So people have.
Like you've got mail?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, like a calm way of getting somebody's information without saying, hey, I think you're cute, I want to date you, which is what we do a lot because we're nervous of getting rejected. So we beat around the bush. But friendships are created like that. And with a number, I feel like that's like the set way in stone. If you ask a girl for her number and she says yes, that means she's single. If you ask her for her Snapchat or Instagram, very different approach. And we all know this because we all are on our phones all the time. We have, like, I know this, it's like an unspoken language, right? So that's why it's so awkward for us to get into relationships. Cause like sometimes we'll misinterpret some cues and she's like, oh, I just wanted to be your friend, or oh this or oh that, whatever. Right. And at the end of the day, it can be really frustrating. It can be good. It can be bad. It's just a mixed bag, but majority of people are not the best at interpreting the cues because it's an undefined language.
That's the thing. Yeah. You just nailed it. That's it. There's no defined how do I do this? How do I approach? What's the right way to go about this? I mean, and that is the challenge, I think, for where you guys are sitting, which makes me,
because why be this way?
How frustrating. How frustrating. Okay. So let me ask you this. If you were to be more direct and you see a really cute girl across the room and you say, hey, can I get your number? And you're going for the more aggressive approach. Do you think a girl that's dating would say, oh, I'm dating somebody?
That's what we assume. Obviously, that's not the truth because I have particular experiences where that is not true at all. And obviously, it's really disheartening. It's not depressing. It's just like, what the hell? Why would you do that?
So, okay. But so then you find out later that they do and they give you their number.
Yeah. And then some guy, and majority of guys will instantly be like, oh, you have a boyfriend. That's fine. We can be friends or just not talk to you and ghost them, obviously, is an option. But it's harder and harder the more you get to know them. So it's easy to be like, oh, can I get your number? And majority of the time, most girls know what that means. They're like, oh, I want your number, or oh, this, or oh, that. I think you're attractive in a different way of saying it.
Right.
And if they give you the number, then you're like, okay, next steps, like dates. So
is it more scary to ask for a phone number versus a Snapchat or
I wouldn't say more scary. Media? It's just a different way of doing it. Cause obviously,
is it a more direct approach? It's more direct. I'm interested in you.
Yeah. It's more direct. Obviously, if I ask a girl for her Instagram or her Snap, she's like, oh, I'm an influencer. Here's my information. It's way different because that's her platform. It'd be like, best example. So you are obviously married to my father. Wonderful man, Eric Fellows.
Yes, he is.
You guys have been married for 22 years, 21? Almost 22. So say a random guy on the street were to walk up to you, like say as soon as we leave this podcast, some random guy was to walk up to you, say I'm not even there. And he's like, hey, I think you're really cute. Can I get your number? Or maybe he doesn't even say that. Maybe he's like, oh, can I get your information or whatever the hell he says? And you're like, oh, no, I'm married. Sorry, we can be, and maybe this is like that devil's advocate right here, right? Okay. You're advocating for this guy and you're like, oh, we can be friends or whatever. Maybe he's a really good looking guy. Maybe he's a trillionaire, billionaire, whatever, right? And you're just like, maybe we can stay friends. You're like, I actually just got done filming. This is my podcast information. You can get all my socials on there. Super fast exchange, right? But you give him your podcast. You don't give him your phone number. You don't give him, I mean, the Instagram's on here, obviously, but.
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. So and you beat around the bush, but you're not giving him what he wants.
So, now I'm getting it. Yeah. So what you're saying is when you approach somebody who you think is attractive and you say, hey, can I get your number or whatever? Mm-hmm. I'm interested. And they say their way of saying, not so close. Here's my social. Yeah. That's their way of putting a little bit of a barrier.
Yeah, a little bit. It's not really, a direct like, oh, yes, I'm interested. It's more of a, okay, I'll give you something.
Do you think that it's, well, let me check you out online first and make sure that you're...
Sometimes, yeah, majority of the time. Best examples is, oh my God, this is just dating 101 now. Jeez.
Well, but it's funny. It's totally, a lot of people that listen, I mean, the kids that are your age are going to say...
They're all going to be like, oh, dude, this guy's corny as hell. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's the truth, but I mean...
No, that's why you're sharing the truth of
this is the reality of what is going on.
That's what I'm after here is the reality. So keep going. This is fascinating to me.
What was I talking about again?
We're talking about social media and how when they ask for a phone number versus social media.
The disconnect. Yeah. So best example is, the gym is a really big, I feel like the gym nowadays is like looked at as really like, inspiring. If you want to be a better person, go to the gym, work out, get physical, whatever. It's looked at in many good lights. I feel like there's no negatives to going to the gym, at least at this point. Obviously, there's addiction and all these other problems, but majority of the time, people go to the gym to improve themselves. And when they're not looking for a relationship, they're looking to improve themselves. And when they're looking to improve themselves, they're not as open to, ideas from strangers. Best examples is like social media influencers who are big gym rats and they advocate to like, oh, go to the gym or do these, or they'll give you, they'll be really helpful and they'll be like, here's some workouts for beginners, just consistency is key, like all this stuff, right? When it comes to like that sort of relationship, it's weird because when people are working on themselves, they're not as open to everything else. And
you mean to everything else or others? Others,
everything else, anything. I mean, when you're working on yourself, you're working on yourself, right? You're not trying to be in the pool.
You're doing it for you, not for anything else.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So when people come up to you and going back to this example, the best. Oh my gosh, sorry, I lost my train of thought. When people go up to you in the gym, especially influencers, they always like to make a joke out of it. They're like, oh, I'm not looking for a relationship. Or like a girl's like, oh, I think you're really cute or this and that. And they say something and they're trying to get your number or information and you just brush them off because most of the time that's what you're going to do. Obviously, there's many different cases. Lots of guys want girls' numbers and they want the chance to have a relationship. But, there are a lot of examples when people are in the gym or even just anywhere doing their own thing and they impress somebody because they're in their element. Mm-hmm. And then it lures them in, but they're not, but they're just doing them. They're not like,
looking for that.
I appreciate it. Here's my social media Instagram for my lifting. It's like, it's very, very professional. They like to keep professional. Maybe that's a sign of not wanting to get rejected. Maybe that's
I was just going to say, do you think maybe that's a false barrier?
Maybe it's scared of being in a relationship at all. I don't know. It's a number of things, but that's just like,
that makes sense.
Yeah. That's like the consensus on, being in your element. It'd be like if I was playing tennis and I really impressed somebody, and this girl comes up to me and she's like, hey, oh my gosh, you're really cute. Can I get your number? I mean, me personally, I'm taking the number, but most people in their element, if I was to be like a tennis influencer, or even a gym rat or whatever the hell, I'd be professional before I'd be improper and be like, yeah, totally. You're super cute and all this stuff, cause people push the profession over the actual, relationship. And that's just people pushing each other away from each other. And it's
exactly,
it's still connecting. It's just not the same. So.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah. So you said something earlier that resonated and I find this to be super true. And that is working on yourself. And I don't mean in the sense you were just talking about. I mean, really, truly focusing on yourself. Yeah. And Dad has said this for years to you boys, is to focus being your best self, which means really focusing on yourself, not about your hobby or your whatever that is, whether it's tennis or working out or whatever the thing is, not that, but it's truly just working on being your best self, loving yourself for who you are without any outside influence and realizing do I like myself? Because nobody's going to like me if I don't like myself.
Yeah.
Right. So being your best self, showing up as your best self, that is actually an extremely attractive quality.
Yes.
When you really are you love who you are, and not in an egotistical way, but in a way where you're just like, no, I'm actually whole. I'm actually good. I'm stand firm with who I am. I like who I am, and I stand by that. Yeah. That is attractive. And that truly is when you attract the right fit for you. Yeah. Because they're going to see those qualities as you stand confidently within who you are. They're probably standing confidently within who they are too. So therefore they will attract each other.
Yeah. Yeah,
and that's what you're after. And you specifically said for yourself that you're looking to, get through college. And I understand that. At the same time though, don't forget that just by being who you are, don't shut out anything. Say, I don't need that. I know you're open to. You've been very clear about that.
Okay, good.
If somebody approached you, you'd be like, yeah, I want to talk to you no matter what. Maybe it's going to go this way. Maybe it's going to go this way. It doesn't matter. I'm interested to communicate with you. Yeah. And that's huge. Another thing I love about you, Tyler, is that you are so good about really talking. You love to have conversations. You love to talk on the phone. You've done this with your friends. You've done this with your family. This is truly who you are. And that is very unusual these days, especially for a boy at your age.
I know.
Because people are used to communicating on text, on phone, on email, on social, on whatever, on their screen, right? And you actually like to have a conversation on the phone, which is really awesome quality.
It's funny too, because you say that, but I was trying to dodge your calls this last week because I just was like, I'm going to see you in a couple days.
You were afraid because you didn't want to spoil the surprise.
Yeah, I'm like trying not to talk to you at all. And I've talked to Dad. I mean, like I called Dad. So
that's different.
I know, but like I was talking to him like every week, couple days a week, like just about like, oh, what's the plan when you get here? What's the flights looking like? Blah, 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 blah. Just always talking, right? Yeah. And I prefer a phone call over text just because it's a lot more clear. You can express emotion. You were talking on a podcast. I don't remember which one. I've seen all of them. It's been too long, but you were talking on a podcast. You're like, it's better to get your emotions crossed over a phone, like when you're talking over a phone, not when you're texting.
Knowing the platform.
And then you said something that sticks with me. You're like, they added emojis, but that doesn't do shit. That helps a little bit, but it's not enough. It's not enough. It's not as much as a phone call. So that's why I like to talk on the phone, because it's really hard for me to be sarcastic. Like I just don't have a sarcastic voice. Whenever I make a joke, people take me literally. And so on text, it's really hard. I have to put quotations in it. I have to put an emoji in it to like make it seem less passive aggressive. Maybe it's just a little calm-hearted joke, but people take it way too seriously, and then it gets into this spiral of emotions, and it's just like I didn't even want to be here. Like we're just friends. Like and so this happens all the time. Like it literally happens with my roommates every once in a while. We'll say something in our group chat, and we'll just be like, "What do you mean by that?" Yeah, and we'll just get really offended because that's what we are. We just take offense really easly in today's society because we want to be accepted. So whenever somebody calls us out, we're very just like, "Wait a minute. But I'm doing this right. What do you see that I don't?" And it's just
gosh,
it's stressful and it's sad and it's depressing and it's all those things, but it's the truth.
I find it interesting because all I hear when I hear you say all that is self-judgment.
It's all self-judgment. Everything is everything I've talked about is self-judgment. It's sad and it's just, I wish we could get past it, but it's only going to get worse.
Well, and so much self-judgment that you're completely shutting the world out. Oh my gosh, that is just... I have to tell you, Tyler, and I'm going to say this because I hope you hear me when I say this. I think the way you speak about this is something the world and people your age within, 10 years on either side need to hear this.
Yeah, I know.
I encourage you to speak about this more. I mean, this is one little platform, but I'm talking about, I do feel like your message hits with people your age and they understand and they can relate. And the more it's communicated and the more this is put out there, the less of that will exist because it's out in the open. And there is there's less fear, there's less judgment, there's less fear of being rejected or, and self-judge, like just judging yourself. I mean, I feel like the more it's talked about, the more it'll dissipate.
Yeah, and it's funny too because you most people would wonder like, why is he talking about all this stuff? I could really give a shit. I mean, I'm very confident. I mean, I wore a shirt in high school that said I love my mommy and daddy.
This is true, guys.
Wore that freshman years, 8th grade, sophomore, junior, senior. Didn't get it. Nobody can say anything to me that will actually offend me. Like most of it was really funny too because when I did it,
so true.
It was like a social experiment. Everybody was like, "What the hell?" They're like, "Why are you wearing?" Like they weren't dissing me, but they were asking me like really weirdly. They're like, "Why are you wearing that shirt?" I'm like, because it's true.
Well, let's tell the story because it's kind of a funny story. The reason the shirt came into existence. So I remember Eric and I are we always love to go and hug and kiss our kids goodnight every night. That's just something we do. We still do it. It's just our thing, which a lot of parents do. It's not unusual.
So silly.
But we would go in and say goodnight to Tyler. When we'd go say goodnight to Tyler specifically, this was when he was young. Yeah. He would always say, he would give us a hug and a kiss and he'd say, "Good night, Mom. I love you. Tell Dad too." Because if sometimes Eric wouldn't be in the room or whatever. So I would always say this. And then he'd say, "I love my mommy and daddy." So it became this whole thing about I love my mommy and daddy. And I said one day, "Tyler, I need to get you a shirt that says I love my mommy and daddy." And he's like, "You should."
I said, "Bet." That's what I said.
You're like, okay. So I did. And sure enough, he wore it so much that he outgrew the first one.
Shirt.
So we bought him another one.
Yeah.
And he did. He wore it with confidence. And I'm telling you, this kid is a very confident person. It had nothing to do with the fact that he's some immature child. He wore it with confidence. Like, no,
I just didn't care.
Got a problem?
Yeah, I didn't care at all.
It was hilarious.
It was so hilarious. It was really funny too. My freshman year, I wore it. And, you know, obviously I have 3 classes above me. There's a lot of older kids at this high school than me. And I always got like the funniest comments. You want to know something really funny too? Is that freshman year I wore it for like 2 days, finals week, and maybe sometime in the middle. Didn't wear it that much, but I wore it. And I just didn't care. And people would always say like nice things to me. They were always like, "Oh, that's sick. That's a cool shirt." And it's funny because, you know, we think that people will, you know, criticize us or they'll call us out, not accept us for doing whatever the hell it could be.
Being who you are.
In this case, it was the shirt. But no, I got all positive stuff because at the end of the day, we're just humans. We're not trying to dog on each other.
Oh my gosh. See, that is the message I'm talking about. People do. It's the self-doubt. They're worried you're going to be criticized. That's why nobody wants to just be who they are because they're worried of criticism when half the time it doesn't even happen. Right?
It's so true.
I mean, you just said it in that story. That's a huge message and it's even, for people in general.
And it's even bigger in college too, because in college we could this guy could be nude. I do not care. I am there to learn. I'm there to get my degree, dip. So I feel like with the college thing compared to high school, obviously we all have to go to high school, right? We all have to do all the grades, get to 12th, get our high school diploma. Maybe you dropped out, but you got your whatever. You did some sort of school at that point, right? But you were around lots of people. With that in mind, college is so funny because you always think that people would think these things of you. In high school, you're like, "Oh, I want to be accepted, got to wear." And this is just a general statement about society, but we all have dress codes. We all want to look good, the recent style, fashion, and all these things. We just want to fit in, right? We just want to be in our bubble, be in our lane, be accepted. We don't want to be doubted. We don't want to be looked at as different, weird, whatever the hell, right? So in college, it's funny. I wore the I love my mommy and daddy shirt to campus first day. Nobody cares. Nobody cares because it's college. I've seen an abundance of people wearing just unique stuff. And at the end of the day, I don't care. Like, I'm going to class. Like, I just see you on campus. Like, it doesn't bug me. I'm not offended. You could be nude. I don't care. You're probably going to get arrested, but
that's what I'm saying. You having the courage to wear something like that. Well, I mean, I guess nowadays pretty much anything goes, and you can't
anything
say
goes. Anything goes. You can't say anything.
Kids can't say anything anyway because the anti-bullying, which I actually totally support. But at the same time, that takes courage because boys will be boys, and that's something that is very sensitive and sweet, and something that he's wearing on a t-shirt. And boys who are boys would be like, you know, could easily make a comment, but yet nobody did.
Yeah, and maybe that's because I was a lot younger than them, and they're thinking I'm innocent. Maybe that's because they're like, "Wow, this kid's ballsy. I'm going to give him some." Or
maybe it's because we're giving props. Them maybe you gave them the benefit of the doubt, and they actually chose not to be jerks.
Yeah.
And there's more people that are good out there than bad. How about that idea?
Yeah, I know. It's
seriously.
It's funny too because you said like the anti-bullying stuff, and it's funny because people talk about. I mean, you see it in the movies, you see it in news, you see all these bullying incidents where people get really sad, and sometimes they end their own life, which is very tragic, or sometimes it's a little smaller and they quit school, they drop out, something happened, you know, and maybe that's because something happened at home to cause them to want to bully someone. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's maybe just the area of the world I grew up in, but I'm very fortunate. There was no bullying at Chaparral, my high school. No bullying for my 4 years.
In your experience,
I'm saying this with like loose ended thoughts. Like I am very fortunate. Obviously this is still a thing, but even now, like I have a lot of friends over the world. You know, technology makes it easier to communicate with everybody. My cousins who live in Vermont now, who go to Vermont, I have friends that go to Duke. I have friends that go to Villanova, like all these schools, right? And I talk to these people, and even in their experiences, like in different parts of the US, and even across the seas, like I have some friends in the UK and some all over the world, bullying just isn't the thing anymore. It's like it happens, but it's not the same. Like there's cyberbullying now. It's just different.
I was gonna say, do you think it's just a different way of bullying?
It's a different way of bullying.
I think there's a lot of cyberbullying going on.
Oh, definitely. Like, tons of cyberbullying, tons of influence on there. That's a whole nother talk about social media and all that. But take away technology for a second.
You mean physical bullying, like face-to-face bullying? It doesn't exist anymore. I agree with you. You know why?
Why?
Because people are safe behind a screen. They can say whatever the hell they want.
I know.
That's why. Yeah. And that's what's so tragic. So I think bullying is actually on an all-time high when it comes to cyberbullying. Yes, because they can hide.
That's fair. Yeah.
The bullying in school, taking lunch money and beating a kid up. You're right. There's a lot less of that.
I don't see
because
that
they can do it on a whole nother level behind a screen.
Behind a screen. Yeah.
And they can be a tiny little kid. They could get their butt kicked, and they can do it behind a screen. They won't be doing that at school because they'll get their butt kicked.
It's true.
I was going to say another thing too, and we talked about this, just trying to find the good in people. People are inherently good. Your dad and I say this a lot. We travel all over the place every summer. We take off in July and we travel all over the country. And we've said to you, you hear things on media, social media, wherever, and you hear all the negative. People are bad. People are racist. People are this, people are that. And we always say to you guys, what has your experience been as we've experienced these different areas? Because we travel all over the place in different areas, different walks of life, all different things. And resoundingly, everybody was actually really awesome.
I know, right? Yeah.
Nobody was racist. Nobody was mean. Nobody was judging. Nobody was... Right?
And it's funny too. You want to hear a funny story? My roommate, Colt, shout out to you again. You live in Sacramento, which is like central to North Cali. There's a divide in California, especially if you live there, you'll know. But if you don't live there, there's a divide. The South and North do not like each other. It's very political related. It's a number of things, farms, society just being shit, but they just don't like each other very much. And it's funny because my roommate Colt, he grew up in the northern part of Cali. He likes Northern California better than Southern California. Me, on the other hand, I like Southern California more than Northern because that's where I grew up going to spring break. I'd go to
spent a lot of time there.
San Diego, Coronado, just all these, Santa Cruz, like all these locations on the coast that we would go to vacation for. Huntington, there's tons of them. And it's funny because Colt always like dogs on the divide, and he's like, "Oh, we hate South Cal." We're like, "Oh, we hate that. And at the end of the day, it's just a joke. Like you gotta interpret it as that way. Do they actually hate each other? No, they live in the same state. There's a divide. It's a joke at the end of the day. But some people take it literally, and I feel like it's scaled out of proportion most of the time. But at the end of the day, like nobody cares that much.
Well, again, when it comes to face-to-face interaction,
because we've
are
done
kind
both.
to each other.
We've done both.
People are generally kind to each other. People want to help people. So the only time you're hearing bullying or political fights or racism or those things, more than likely you're seeing and experiencing that online. Not in person.
Unrealistic.
It is so much less common in person than it is online. So just remember that. And that's why we say that to you guys as we travel. It's like, what has your experience been? So before you believe what you're hearing or reading or seeing online, what is your experience? Make your judgment on your own experience, especially if you're getting to experience a lot of different things, which you guys have been blessed to be able to do.
We've seen so much.
And I'm not saying that, trust me, we live a very sheltered life and we're very lucky and blessed for that.
Yes,
very much.
Yes.
But we have experienced some other things, and it's not like we've stayed in our bubble. We actually like to explore out of our bubble too. And in those experiences, we've seen people are inherently good.
I know.
And helpful and kind and nice and loving.
Well, it's like, you want to tell this story. I don't know if you want to tell it or if I can tell it. We were in Canada this last summer, and literally the first Canadian we talked to can I?
Oh my gosh.
So let me give you some
stereotypical of Canada. Canadians are so nice, right?
Yeah. I mean, ironically, I got a Canadian friend. He's kind of aggressive, but shout out to you, Tyler. Shout out to you, Tyler. But his mom is wonderful. Tammy, you are wonderful.
Another Tammy Tyler duo.
You are super nice, and I love you a lot. Thank you for the birthday wishes. But no, so we were in Canada this last summer. We did the West Coast. We did all of Cali. We've done it before. So we just did that. Stayed on Highway 1, went up through Washington and Oregon. Beautiful. Then we shot across, did Seattle, and then shot across up into Canada. We stopped in, where did we stop? First location? Where was that? That RV park. It was right across the border.
Peace Arch.
Peace Arch.
Outside of Vancouver.
Yeah. So we stopped right there. And I remember my dad pulled in with the trailer, parked, went inside to check in because we had reserved a spot on the way there. And we got our spot and we were ready to head into the actual park and set up, right, for the day or two. And the car wouldn't start. We were just like, uh-oh. So we had to move clearly because we were in the way of traffic. And literally it took all of maybe 10 seconds for this guy who was like maybe, I don't know, 200 feet to our left, who was at his camper, and he was leaving and he sees my dad get out of the car and go to the hood. My dad hasn't even opened the hood yet. This guy's like, do you need to jump? Like just instantly. And we're all in the back seat. We all see this. We're just like, what in the world? And so of course this guy like opens his hood. He has jumper cables and he jumps our car and we get on our way and we're fine. And we're just like, and we're just thinking to ourselves, we're like, yeah, so maybe what we've heard about Canadians is true because that's just
we had experiences like that in Canada specifically with running into just very amazing, kind, loving, open people.
So the stereotype is true. Obviously there's cases, but very true.
So I think we're going to wrap it up, but I'm going to leave you with this, Tyler. First of all, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I love you more than words could ever express. You're such a gift in my life. And I'm so grateful that you're part of this world. And I feel like your words and what you do will have a massive impact. And I hope that you can speak openly like this always. I feel very strongly that it will have a huge impact on people that are in your generation, outside of your generation, just across the world. So please remember how important that is and how powerful you are. Yeah. And what a beautiful soul you are. I love you.
I appreciate that a lot. And thank you for having me on the podcast. I feel like this has been a just different part of my life and it's very fun and I love seeing you in your element. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Thank all of you for being here. I hope you've enjoyed listening to Tyler and I talk and Tyler sharing his amazing words and wisdom on how he's experiencing the world at age 20 today. We always love to leave you with lots of love and light. And remember, when you hear this message, don't forget to subscribe, follow, like, leave comments. We love every bit of it. It also makes it so we can be found easier for people that do want to hear this message and need this message. If you feel somebody would benefit from what you heard today, please share it with them. It means a lot to us and to the world. And don't forget, life, love, and purpose, it all begins with you. Peace out.